May I invite to the microphone to speak on the topic navigating as a Nigerian Muslim in the rapidly changing world, Dr. Sheikh Jabir Mehula to the podium to speak to us on navigating as a Nigerian Muslim in the rapidly changing world. Thank you, sir.
إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا وسيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله أما بعد أيها الإخوة والأخوات السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Let me start by expressing my thanks to the organizers of this program for organizing annual Uniting and Educating event and for inviting me to this year's convention. May Allah reward you and may Allah make it easy for us. May Allah grant us ikhlas whenever we speak and whenever we act. And may Allah unite us in Jannah. As you have heard, the topic given to me is navigating as Nigerian Muslim in a rapidly changing world. And the method I choose and approach I choose to address or to use this to address in digesting this topic is to discuss our strengths and our weaknesses as a people, as Nigerian Muslims. So my talk today is going to be exclusively for Nigerian Muslims because it's going to discuss something that is for Nigerian Muslims. It will have less quotation and more explanation because it could be something like what is called in academia as a field work. It's something you all know that I don't need to go into divine text to make quotations. It's something you all know that we're going to discuss. Perhaps we're going to get a way out of our weaknesses. What is the wisdom of discussing strengths and weaknesses of us as an ummah, the Nigerian Muslims? Because humankind is ungrateful. We are all most likely we tend to focus on our weaknesses. This is how humankind is. He focuses on negativity instead of thinking, what are the favors of Allah upon me? What are the characteristics and qualities that are distinct in me that I will have to appreciate Allah for that, to seek for more? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in various places in the Quran describe humankind as ungrateful. That humankind is ungrateful. We are tend to focus on negativities. We are tend to focus on what we are lacking, what we don't have. That is why you find people always depressed, always in sadness. If they were to count what they have and what they don't, they will see that what they have outweighed and outnumbered what they don't have. So because of this quality of being ungrateful, we are ungrateful kind. That is why Allah in many places in the Quran describes us as ungrateful. Humankind is ungrateful. Take for instance in Surah to Ibrahim. After Allah enumerates and listed many of his favors upon us, and he ends the verses by saying, Innal insana lavalumun kafar. Verily, humankind is unjust and is ungrateful. Allah mentioned a lot of favors. He said, Allahu alladhi khalaqa as-samawati wal arda wa anzala min as-sama'i ma'an fa akhraja bihi min ath-thamarati rizqan lakum wa sakhkhara lakum al-fulka litajriya fil bahri bi amrihi wa sakhkhara lakum al-anhar وسخر لكم الشمس والقمر دائبين وسخر لكم الليل والنهار وآتاكم من كل ما سألتموه وإن تعدوا نعمة الله لا تحصوها إن الإنسان لظلوم كفار. Allah said, Allahu alladhi khalaqa as-samawati wal ard. It is Allah who creates the earth and heavens. وَأَنزَلَ مِنَ السَّمَاءِ مَاءً فَأَخْرَجَ بِهِ مِنَ الثَّمَرَاتِ رِزْقًا لَكُمْ. And He is the one who sent rain from the sky, and He made provision out of that rain for you of fruits. وَسَخَّرَ لَكُمُ الْفُلْكَ لِتَجْرِيَ فِي الْبَحْرِ بِأَمْرِهِ. And Allah subjected ships for you so that it will sail in the sea for you. A ship loaded with thousands of tons from Dubai. Allah has subjected it for you. Where do you want it to go? From China, where do you want it to go? From UK, where do you want it to go? وَسَخَّرَ لَكُمُ الْفُلْكَ لِتَجْرِيَ فِي الْبَحْرِ بِأَمْرِهِ وَسَخَّرَ لَكُمُ الْأَنْهَارِ. And Allah subjected rivers for you. وَسَخَّرَ لَكُمُ الشَّمْسَ وَالْقَمَرَ دَائِبَيْنِ. Allah subjected sun and moon for you orbiting. You understand this is day, this is night, this is Monday, this is Tuesday, this is Sunday. وَسَخَّرَ لَكُمُ اللَّيْلَ وَالنَّهَارِ. Allah subjected day and night for you. They are at your service. Whatever you want to do in night, you know it is night. وَآتَاكُم مِّن كُلِّ مَا سَأَلْتُمُوهُ. Allah gave you all that you asked for. Allah granted you all your requests. وَآتَاكُم مِّن كُلِّ مَا سَأَلْتُمُوهُ وَإِن تَعُدُّوا نِعْمَةَ اللَّهِ لَا تُحْصُوهَا. If you are to count the favors of Allah, you can never enumerate them. You can say, Allah favored me with hearing, Allah favored me with listening, Allah favored me with this and that. You can count, go on counting, but you cannot enumerate them. But what happened to humankind? Innal insana lavalumun kafar. Verily, the humankind is valum, is unjust, and is ungrateful. He tends to focus on the negativity, on the things he doesn't have. If you are discussing our navigation as Nigerian Muslims, we will always focus on negativity. What are those things that we don't have? Whereas Allah is always calling on us to appreciate the favors He has on us, and He will increase more. وَإِسْتَأَذَّنَ رَبُّكُمْ لَإِن شَكَرْتُمْ لَأَزِيدَنَّكُمْ وَلَإِن كَفَرْتُمْ إِنَّ عَذَابِي لَشَدِيدٌ. Remember when your Lord proclaimed, and He made it clear, لَإِن شَكَرْتُمْ, if you show appreciation to my favors, لَأَزِيدَنَّكُمْ, I will add more upon you, I will increase it. وَلَإِن كَفَرْتُمْ, if you become ungrateful and you deny it, Inna adhabi la shadid, verily my punishment is severe. How many times did you ponder? Think upon yourself. What are the favors of Allah upon me? This is on individual level and on collective level. On collective level, Allah has favors on us as Nigerian Muslims. Some of the qualities I will mention are qualities that are distinctive to Nigerians. That if you go around other countries with Muslim population, you will not find something like that or something closer or something similar to that. Then after that, we'll come to discuss our weaknesses. Perhaps at the end, we will find a think tank group that will think on how to navigate these issues, how to look into these weaknesses and negativities with the aim of reducing them, with the aim of harmonizing the differences we have and making a better nation. May Allah help us. The first quality that might cross your mind, the first strength that might cross your mind when we are talking about strength of Nigerian Muslims is that it could be argued that we are the most practicing Muslims in the world. It could be argued that we are the most practicing Muslims in the world. If you observe how prayers are performed, how rows are strengthened, the manner upon which the prayer is delivered, azkar made after the prayer, you will definitely argue that we are the most practicing Muslim in the world. If you are chance to travel to other parts of Muslim countries and you compare what is done in Nigeria with what is done there. In 2002, when I was in part 2 at the university, and that famous scholar of Hadith, Sheikh Abdullah Murad, is a famous professor of Hadith, Faculty of Hadith, Islamic University, Medina, and he's one of the disciples of Sheikh Nasruddin al-Albani. He's known, very old, everyone knows him for his scholarly knowledge about Hadith. He was teaching us Nailul Awtar in 200 level. Maybe there are 4 or 5 Nigerians in the class. I can remember myself, Abdullah Gadonkaya, and other few, so he was not referring to anyone. He was not speaking one-on-one. He was speaking to congregation, to class. He said, I have gone around many countries in this world, but I have never seen where prayer is given importance and is observed well like Nigeria. This is a testimony he gave. He's not Nigerian. He's one of the disciples of Sheikh Nasruddin al-Albani. He said, I went around to many countries, but I have never seen where prayer is given priority, where people pay attention, where rows are strengthened like Nigeria. If you go to any mosque today for prayer in Nigeria, you will find elderly, the youth, the teenage in the masjid. This is something very distinctive, peculiar to Nigeria. If you go to some countries, you will only find old people. in the masjid. I prayed subh in another country. It's an Arab, an Islamic country. But at the subh prayer, everyone is copied. Where are the youth? Where are the teenagers? They are not in the vicinity. Just literally less than 48 hours ago on Friday, I prayed Isha prayer in my area. I missed one raka'ah. And one teenage prayed beside me. And he missed 3 raka'ats. And he was standing literally at the door. So there is no way you can pass. It's a small masjid. It has only one door. There is no way you can pass until you pass before him. He paid his 3 raka'at and started supplicating, and no one from the first or second or third row wanted to go out. Everyone was reciting his supplication. I bet with you, you will never find something like this unless in Nigeria. People are trained to sit down and say their supplications for 2 and 3 minutes after Salah. If you go to other countries, there are people that are called Sur'anul Qawm. Immediately after Assalamu alaikum, the door will be crowded. People will want to go out. And you know what? In Hanafi madhab, you know, the way we say salam here is the opinion of the majority scholars, is that when Imam says, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, you wait for him to finish, then you start your Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. In Hanafi madhab, which is followed by the majority in the world, it is when he said Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, you also say Assalamu alaikum with the first one. When you say Assalamu alaikum on the left, and you follow him. So by the time he finished, you have only one carryover. You say it and you leave. So sometimes you're surprised. Before you say the 2, Assalamu alaikum, you that are used to saying the 2 after Imam, people are already on the door. Then you were surprised. Did they say salam or something like that? But in this country, we are trained generation upon generation to give importance to salah. It's difficult to find a teenager that is not praying, especially in Muslim most populated area in the core north. Everyone is praying. The speakers before me were speaking about the importance of good company. If you are coming from core north, you know that you will have good company when it comes to prayer, because everyone will remind you. And in each masjid, you will hear call to prayers. And people will say, it's time for prayer. Please let's go and pray. So they will compel you to pray. When it is Ramadan, the atmosphere itself will tell you it is fasting time. Even if you have an excuse, you don't fast, it will be difficult for you even to find food, because everyone and everything is fasting. You don't find this in most of the Muslim countries. In most of the Arab countries, you don't find this definition to the way it is here in this country. When it is Hajj, despite the economy, the insecurity, the inflation, we were never allocated enough space. We were never allocated enough vacancy. The Pilgrims Agency will tell you that we will start with the leftovers from last year, because people want to, at all costs, to go to Hajj. Some people are selling their assets. Some people are selling their cows. Some people from their serving, they just want to go to Hajj. Once you live in northern Nigeria, when you live in Nigeria and you go to other part of the world where Muslims are predominant, you will appreciate what you see in Nigeria. This is a great quality we have. This is the strength we have that we need to appreciate for Allah to increase upon us. And we need to work on that. We need to focus on that, because we inherited generation upon generation. We want it to continue generation after generation. What tarbiyah, what upbringing did you give your children to make sure that they always pray in congregation? They pray in jama'ah. They pray on time. We need to focus on this as one of our strengths. The second thing is that we are the country with the largest memorizer of the Quran. We are not the country with the largest number of Muslims. No, Indonesia came before us. Pakistan came before us. India before us. Bangladesh before us. But we are the country with the largest number of Quran memorizers in the world. There was a recent survey that identified top 10 countries with most Quran memorizers. The 10th is Palestine. The 9th is Turkey. The 8th is Morocco. The 7th is Iraq. The 6th is India. The 5th is Pakistan. The 4th is Somalia. The 3rd is Saudi Arabia. The second is Indonesia. And the first is Nigeria. Alhamdulillah. This is our strength. We don't have the most Muslim, but we have more memorizers of Quran. There is no musabaqah, no Quran competition taken in any part of the world. If Nigerian is involved, he will either come first, second, or third. This is how we are. And this is who we are. This is the strength we have. This is where we are leading. Other Muslims of other nations are following. And it's partly the tarbiyah we got from our parents, our foreparents, and we need to sustain, to continue, so that we'll continue in the lead, inshallah. One of the greatest strengths we have in Nigeria that you rarely find or found in another country is that there are many cycles of knowledge. In the recent years, there are scholars emerging in Nigeria. You can say there is a revolution of scholarship in Nigeria. And these people, when you listen to them, you know that they are real scholars. Listen to them watch them on Sunnah TV, watch them on Africa TV. You will know that they acquire some level of knowledge that is international, that is worldwide. Some of them teaching from fundamentals to basics to intermediate to advanced. If you go to each nook and cranny of Nigeria, in cities, you will find that on daily basis, there are books that are taught of Islam. This is teaching Usul al-Thalatha, the other, Qawaid al-Arba, Kashf al-Shubhat, Kitab al-Tawheed, Akhdari, Ishmawi, Izziya, Qurtuba, Risala, Askari, Mukhtasar, Umdatul Ahkam, Arba'una Hadith, Bulugul Maram, to advanced level of Bukhari, Muslim, Abu Dawud, and Nasa'i, Tirmizi, Ibn Majah. And in some cycles of knowledge, they are even studying Ilal. This you can find maybe in only 2-3 countries, and in smaller cycles, not as big as ours. Go to Kano, go to Sokoto, after Maghrib and Isha. Go to other places, go to Kaduna, go to Bauchi. See how crowds in the masjid, as if it is Friday. No, they are there only to learn Sahih al-Bukhari, the most advanced book, the second book after the book of Allah. That is why the knowledge of Nigerian Muslim today is above average in compared to knowledge of other Muslims across the globe. The knowledge you have, the knowledge of Nigerian Muslim on the street today is above average if compared to the knowledge of other Muslims across the globe. I'm into fatwa. I have been asked questions here and somewhere. There was a time that someone asked me a question. This is somebody that was born as a Muslim, and he was in university. At that time, I think he was in 300 level, part 3. The question is that, Sheikh Jabir, please, I have a quick question. What's the question? I came to the masjid and I found that the prayer has ended. Please, how many rak'at is Salatul Zuhur? You never find such questions from our primary school student. How many rak'at is Salat? How many is it? No, he was not asking. He was saying that Zuhur is 4 rak'at, right? I said yes. You recite on the first 2 Fatiha and Surah, and the second 2 Fatiha only without Surah, right? He said yes. Jazakallahu khairan. People in primary school know this type of question. Why? Because the knowledge is spreading rapidly in Nigeria. Cycles of knowledge. Some of our scholars are of international caliber. In fact, I know many big scholars, many big names in the world. I don't want to mention a country, that they are known in terms of scholarship and knowledge. They employ some Nigerians to do research for them. Some of them are in permanent committees, bigger committees that issue a fatwa for the whole world. But there are some Nigerians under them that they employed, they hired, they do research for them because they are busy, not because they are not knowledgeable, and because they believe and know that they can rely on these Nigerians. At this juncture, thank goes to Medina graduates and those who are influenced by them. These cycles of knowledge in Nigeria started in 80s, in 90s. It started in 90s. Before 90s, there was preachers everywhere. Preaching is very good, it's excellent. But you see, preaching can never make you educated. All these lectures we are given, if you are to listen to these lectures, to this convention for 100 years, you will never become educated. You will never become alim or student of knowledge, but you will become motivated to go and study under scholars. The only way you become student of knowledge is to take your book, go to school, They will open today. Yesterday we stopped from page 8, and today we are taking from page 9. And you take it gradually. You take it gradually. Before 90s, this preaching was everywhere in Nigeria. In 90s, when Medina graduates started coming back, Sheikh Jafar and others, they started establishing cycles of knowledge where they teach smaller books from Usul al-Thalatha to Kashful Shubhat to Qawaid al-Arba to Kitab al-Tawheed, from Arba'una Hadith to Umdatul Ahkam to Bulugul Maram, and others copied. And today it is everywhere spread in Nigeria. You will find people are becoming real students of knowledge, and people are becoming scholars, all part of this effort. Then there is Makaranta Zaure, which took different method, where it will be based on one-on-one. But with the population we have in Nigeria, at Makaranta Zaure, it's very good. It's something that will build you. It's something that will give you the foundation, but it cannot contain all. If you go to Kano and see thousands of people, if you go to Bauchi, if you go to Sokoto, thousands of people, sometimes double this crowd coming to listen to Sahih Bukhari or to Sahih Muslim. You know, if you are to do it one-on-one, then the time will not be on your side. So this seeking knowledge is part of our strength. And I'm saying this for those of us that are not into these cycles of knowledge to continue, please. To start, please. Those that are already in it to continue, and those that are not in it yet to try to have their share from it. Wallahi, once you listen to Sunnah TV and Africa TV3, you will know that, yes, in Nigeria, we have people that are of international level when it comes to scholarship. They do their researches before they come, and the way they teach, some of them are teaching even comparative fiqh. So that is why you will find that small student of knowledge, they will tell you this is Hanafi madhab, this is Maliki madhab, this is Shafi'i madhab. Why? Because most of the teachings that are aired on Sunnah TV and Africa TV, they are taken from these cycles of knowledge where these students are attending in physical. So we are blessed by Allah with all these strengths. Why are we outlining all these strengths? For us to be appreciative to Allah, to thank Allah, to also add more effort, to make sure that this goes from one generation to other, because this is how we met it, and we want it to continue. It's a great virtue on our people. Also, we have some weaknesses. I've mentioned only 3 strengths, and I will mention the weakness. Why did I mention the strengths first? For us to be appreciative, to know we are at certain level. So when I say we have weakness in this area, we shall not only capitalize on the weakness, we shall not look down to ourselves, we shall not feel that we are down. No. Despite all these difficulties, we have the largest number of Quran memorizers. What is your excuse if you cannot even recite 10 surahs of the Quran? If you can't memorize 10 surahs of the Quran? And are you taking your children to Islamic schools? Now, the new development that came in, we have schools, private schools, that teach conventional education together with Islamic education. So if your child goes to school 7, he will come back 6 p.m. and that's all. He combined everything. And in 1, 2, 3 years, he will memorize Quran. And these schools are proving to be the best, even in Wayek and Neku. So try to look where you will situate your child. How will he? If your child memorizes Quran, on the day of judgment, you will be crowned. Hani ammari an walidaka alayhima malabisu anwari min at-taj wal hula wa ma dhannukum bin najli inda jazaihi ulaika ahlullahi was safwatul mala. On the day of judgment, we will be called before people and will be crowned. People will be asking, who? Why is he crowned? Is he a king? Is he a prince? No, his child memorized Quran. Hadith in Sunan Abi Dawud, authenticated by Sheikh Nasruddin al-Albani. So don't play with it. Still, there are people who don't give priority to Islamic education. They don't give priority to educating their children. Islamically, it is strong. Combine them together, conventional and the Islamic one. Going to the weaknesses. Despite all this knowledge we have, despite all this treasure we have, despite all the potentials we have and that we can harness for our development, still there is lack of unity and synergy. And I want you to focus more on these weaknesses so that if you have whatever you can do, you might be the changer. You might be the person to change this game. It is not if you are known. When Allah mentions some prophet, He said, وَرُسُلًا قَدْ قَصَصْنَاهُمْ عَلَيْكَ وَرُسُلًا لَمْ نَقْصُصْهُمْ عَلَيْكَ. There are messengers and prophets that are not even known. So don't think that a big scholar, a big politician, a big man will have to come and make the change. The change might start with you. You might be the one that will bring the change that has never been bought. People that made their names written in gold were not children of anyone, were not from famous family, were not from, they never thought they are going to make it. But because they believe in themselves and they believe in what they are doing, Allah helped them to achieve what they achieved. So the first thing we have, despite all this, is lack of unity and synergy. This is one of the greatest bad characteristics, peculiarity in Nigeria. We have scholars, we have students of knowledge, we have memorizers of Quran, but there is no unity, there is no synergy. Today you cannot point a scholar. If you go to any country, there is a scholar called Mufti al-Am. There is a scholar called, is the father of all. Everyone respect him, everyone accept from him. In Nigeria, you don't have that. And when I say unity, I'm not talking about everyone to come together under one umbrella to abandon your faith, to abandon your understanding, to abandon your tariqah and your izala. No, that is impossible. It cannot happen. It never happened from the time when Usman was killed, and it will never happen anywhere. But why can't we look at our commonalities, something that are common? Because of lack of unity. Look, we have the highest number of memorizers of Quran. We have scholars and students of knowledge, but we still import fatwas. It's like we are the biggest cocoa farmers, but we still import Milo and Bombita and chocolate from outside. We don't have the capacity to process them to become what we want and use them. The same thing in terms of knowledge. There are some issues that are peculiar to Nigerian situation. If you want to answer them, you answer them with Nigerian scholars. There are some issues that are fatwas that are contextual. Almost all fatwas are contextual. If you ask someone in a particular country, he will tell you based on the situation he knows. If you go to different country, another country, and ask another person, he will tell you based on the knowledge he has. People will start importing these fatwas and they will have clash. And it will generate to something else. Why can't we have our strong committee for issuing fatwa? There is one, I know about it. But it's not functional. Who knows about it? Can anyone tell me the name of the committee issuing fatwa in Nigeria? Can anyone, if you know anyone, raise your hand? And who is the leader of that committee? Who is the grand mufti of that committee? It's not functional, it's not popular, it's not known, it's not respected. We have issues that are very peculiar to our country that our scholars, if we have committees issuing fatwa, those committees will issue this fatwa and it is their thought, it is their verdict, and their verdict will be used. Let me give you an example. We have this issue of borrowing airtime from service providers. When you borrow 100 naira and you pay 110 naira, is that riba or not riba? You don't need to go outside looking for fatwa, or people will start independent analogy, making ijtihad. I think no, you need to go and take this fatwa to committee. We have the service providers, namely this and this and this. What is the opinion of this committee about borrowing airtime and paying more than I borrow? Then they will make analysis, then they will issue the fatwa, and they'll say this is the fatwa. Quite often time you heard Sheikh Jafar, rahimahullah, saying that I know many great scholars in Medina University. They are our lecturers, they are our teachers. They will come to class and they will digest a particular issue of jurisprudence, and at the end of the day they will say, this is my opinion, and this opinion is not working. You have to refer to the opinion of Lajnatul Da'ima, permanent committee issuing the fatwa. Why? Because it's the authority. It's the authority. When our Sheikh Abdul Muhsin Abbad in 2020, when the COVID started, he was asked a fatwa, just to show you the importance of having a committee of strong scholars, that their opinion overrides. If there is a committee of formidable, knowledgeable scholars in Nigeria, firstly, we don't need to go and import fatwas, and secondly, individual opinions will not matter. I will give you an example. Sheikh Abdul Muhsin Abbad is a person I studied Sunan Abi Dawud and Sunan Tirmidhi from him. He's a great scholar of hadith. He's one of the most respected scholars of hadith world over. He's still alive, hafidhahullah. In 2000, early 2000, he gave a fatwa that if you pray the COVID prayer, you give gap between sufuf, your salah is invalid. That was before COVID landed in Saudi. Immediately after COVID landed in Saudi, the committee issued a fatwa that, no, your salah is invalid. This came out to say that, please don't consider my earlier fatwa is abrogated by the fatwa of committee. Because the committee issuing fatwa will be stronger than individuals. We lack synergy. Perhaps you are the one that is going to be part of the think tank group that will sit down and say, in Nigeria, we need a formidable, I told you I know one committee, but I asked you, no one knows about the committee, it's not formidable. If you ask any fatwa from that committee, 10, 20 people will tell you fatwa from Lajna Da'ima before they know there is an existing committee. When someone came to my library, the first thing he asked is that, please, I want you to show me fatwa Lajna Da'ima, because I had you and Fantami frequently quoting from that fatwa. So maybe you are the game changer. You will try to think from now, how can we in this aspect try to bring a unity in our scholars, not to abandon their understanding and their tariqas and their path to come and adopt and embrace one. No. Just to have a common ground where if common issues come on ground, all hands will be on deck to solve that problems for Nigerians so that they don't go outside from one country to another shopping for fatwas and importing fatwas that will end up bringing clash to the country because these fatwas are taken out of the context they are given in that particular country. Our second weakness is our inability to deal with our differences. Most of the differences today that are debated in Nigeria among students of knowledge and scholars are there from time immemorial. They are written in the books, whether it is qunut for Salatul Subh or not, whether it is wada'u or sadal, whether it is this and that. It is in every Muslim country, but they use maturity in dealing with the differences. I know, yes, there is this opinion, so what? But today people will call for an open debate just to discuss issues that this is the opinion of one Sahabi and the other is an issue of another Sahabi. Few months ago, I was given a fatwa live on radio in Sokoto. Someone called me and asked about what is the Islamic verdict on qunut, regular qunut on Salatul Subh. Then I started saying there is difference of opinion of scholars upon this issue. This is the opinion of Malik and Shafi'i, and this is the opinion of Ahmad bin Hanbal. And the most preferred for me is the opinion of Ahmad bin Hanbal because the Prophet ﷺ didn't do qunut regularly, he did it only in nawazil. Then someone called. He said, no, Sheikh, you don't say that. You're supposed to say that doing it continuously is a bid'ah. Don't hide bid'ah. Don't do mujamala to any mubtadi. Then I said, okay, listen. Then I brought out Sunan al-Tirmidhi. I said, are you listening? He said, yes. Then Imam al-Tirmidhi, when he reports the hadith of qunut, he said, اختلف أهل العلم من أصحاب رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم والذين من بعدهم على جواز القنوت في صلاة الصبح فمن الصحابة من ذهب إلى. I started reading it for him. Imam al-Tirmidhi, after narrating, he said, there is a difference of opinion of companions of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam on whether the qunut shall be continuous on Salatul Subh, each Salatul Subh, or it shall be when there is need for that. And I mentioned the Sahaba that are of the opinion that you can do it on each Salah. And the Sahaba that are of the opinion that you can do it only when there is nawazil, when there is need for that. And because, alhamdulillah, he is someone that his heart was open to taking the truth, he called again, he said, Sheikh, wallahi, thank you very much. I realized my mistake, and now I understand better. I say, alhamdulillah, barakallahu feek. These trivialities sometimes do cause fitna that will lead to chaos, that will lead to excommunicating a Muslim from his faith. Just because I didn't agree with you on one side, and that's why Ibn Taymiyyah rahmatullahi alayhi said, companions of the Prophet are the best example. They are the best people who exemplified differences of opinion. Among the Sahaba, there are people with the opinion that if you touch a woman, your wudu is invalid. And there are people in them with the opinion that if you touch a woman, your wudu is not invalid. Your wudu is valid. He said among the companions, there are people with the opinion that once you eat the meat of camel, your wudu is invalidated. And among them, there are people with the opinion that when you take the meat of camel, your wudu is still valid. But he said they all pray in the same masjid behind the same imam. No one says, no, in my opinion, you don't have wudu, so I will not pray behind you. No, in my opinion, I think your wudu is invalidated. They have that kind of tolerance, of tolerating one another, of understanding one another. Why? Because that's the teaching of the Prophet ﷺ. That's what the Prophet ﷺ taught them. You all know the famous hadith in Bukhari and Muslim. In the 6th year after Hijrah, after Ghazwatul Khandaq, the Prophet ﷺ sent a raid, he dispatched a raid to go to Bani Qurayza and fight them. And what did he tell his companions when they are going? He said, لا يصلين أحد منكم العصر إلا في بني قريظة. None of you, they are about 1,000. He looked at them, he said, none of you shall pray Asr until he reaches Bani Qurayza. Bani Qurayza is settlement outside Medina. You are going to go and fight them because they connived with Quraysh to fight us in Ghazwatul Khandaq. So they break the covenant between us, that we had a covenant that whoever comes to fight us, they will not join. Whoever comes to fight them will not join. Now they broke the covenant. They joined Quraysh to fight us. They deserve to be fought. Go and fight them. It's a kind of self-defense mechanism. His address to them, لا يصلين أحد منكم العصر إلا في بني قريظة. Now the Prophet ﷺ speaking to his companions. Look at how companions will have difference of understanding from the text. What is the text now? Hadith. The Prophet talking now. لا يصلين أحد منكم العصر إلا في بني قريظة. None of you shall pray Asr until you reach Bani Qurayza. They are on the way, comes time for Asr. Some of the companions said, we understood this literally. The Prophet said we should not pray Asr until we reach Bani Qurayza. Sheikh Muhammad al-Amin al-Shankiti in Adwa'ul Bayan said, these are the Salaf of Ahlul Zahir. We are going by literal meaning. The Prophet said, do not pray. Because he said, La anahiya yusalliyanna nunu tawkid. So there are two things that are making the prohibition to be strong. So we will not pray. Other segments said, no. What we understood from him is that he wants us to hasten to go in to Bani Qurayza. But from general understanding of how the Prophet treats us, he always wants us to pray on time. So since we are not there before time, it's time for prayer. He always asks us to pray on time, so we are going to pray on time. What happened? They said, okay, we are going to wait for you. Finish your prayers and we'll go together. Look at tolerance. We tolerate. They said, no, we are moving ahead. You have to know. Because they know division is fitna. They waited for the first group. They prayed Asr. When they reached Bani Qurayza, the second group prayed Asr. When they came back, they told the Prophet ﷺ, Ma'aba hadha min hadha wala hadha min hadha. He did not fault this from this, neither fault this from this. You are all right. Why? Because it didn't break your unity. That unity. It is acceptable to have differences of understanding in interpretation. The Prophet didn't even say, yeah, you are right, but it's okay. No, he didn't even outline who is right from who is wrong. But believe you me, had they divided themselves into two, some of them went and some of them waited to pray, he would have got angry on them because it happened severally. There was a time they were coming from a particular trip and they just stayed for a break. And he saw the companions in groups. Then he got angry. Why are my companions getting divided? He said, Mali arakum izin. The hadith is in Sunan Abi Dawud and it's level Hassan by Sheikh Nasiruddin al-Albani. It's also reported by Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal. He said, Mali arakum izin. Why am I seeing you into groups? Why can't you come together? If you're discussing something, come together and discuss, for the whole house shall come together and discuss. He said, from that day, whenever we come back from traveling, all companions will come in one group, that you might think that if you spread a sheet, it will contain all of them. None of them will go in a shed, and none of them will go on the mountain. because the Prophet wants them to stay united despite the differences of opinion. Now, division, the Prophet ﷺ fought division. Now, when it comes to differences of understanding, he okayed differences of understanding. And he okayed tolerance in differences of understanding. But in many cases, this is the understanding. That is why during Sahaba, after his death, they didn't divided themselves. They didn't got into societies and organizations and everyone claiming his right. They will witness something done wrongly. They will admonish. They will preach. Yet they will do in congregation. I'll give you one example before going to the last point. Oh, it's time, right? The last one example I will give you is what is reported by Imam al-Bukhari in Kitab al-Salah. You see, during the lifetime of the Prophet ﷺ, on Jumu'ah, he will give khutbah first, then comes after 2 rakat of prayer. In Eid, it is the other way around. He will start with 2 rakat and he will give khutbah later. This was the practice during Abu Bakr. This was the practice during Umar. This was the practice during Uthman. This was the practice during Ali. When it comes to the time of Marwan bin al-Hakam, he changed it. He will come first and deliver khutbah, then he will give prayer. He will pray later. Then Abu Sa'id al-Khudri approached him and said, no, this isn't the way you are doing it. Listen to his excuse. He said, you know, Abu Sa'id al-Khudri, because Prophet and his companions are people of credibility, people do listen to them. They will pray first and people will listen to their khutbah. They will stay. But because we are muluk, we are kings, we don't have that credibility now. If we pray first, people are going to spread. No one is going to stay to listen to us. He said, this is not hujjah, this is not dalil, this is not valid reason for you. Next year, when Marwan came, he started with khutbah against the sunnah. But Abu Sa'id al-Khudri admonished him and sat down before him to pray. When he was asked, why did you pray behind him? And you know what he's doing is bid'ah. It's against what the Prophet and his companions were doing. He said, Al-firaqu kulluhu shar. To divide is shar, is bad. We are taught by the Prophet to stay united, even with differences of opinion and differences of understanding. So please, we shall do something in this path. This is a critical, this is a very negative in our weaknesses. The last one I will mention, the third one. We have more out-of-school children than anyone in the world. UNESCO estimated that Nigeria has more than 20 million out-of-school children. And these out-of-school children are in Muslims-dominated areas. They are in northwest and northeast, and some of them in north central. But they are mostly in northwest, where we have more population of Muslims demographically, and also in the northeast. What are we doing for that? Remember, when mentioning our strength, I said we have cycles of knowledge everywhere. All these cycles of knowledge are limited to cities. If you go to villages, you will find people who do not know anything about religion. That's why these people are transforming into becoming bandits. They are not taught who is Allah, neither Islamic nor conventional education given to them. We need to do something about this. We need to form committees that will go to villages, not to preach, distinguish between preaching and teaching. Earlier when I said Medina graduates in 90s invented the issue of cycles of knowledge everywhere. I forgot to tell you, Sheikh Abu Bakr Gumi was the one to start in 80s before the Nigerian Medina graduates. But because they did it in multitude, that is why it is referred to them. Have people of knowledge. Do you know that you can sponsor some people to go to a particular village and camp themselves there to teach 100 people Akhdari, Usul al-Thalatha, Kitab al-Tawheed, Juz'u Amma, just to know how to recite Quran, Juz'u Amma. 100 people. When you do this, you are Sadaqatul Jariyah, there is no second to it. Because it will continue. For instance, take a particular local government. Sponsor 3 people. They will go there and camp for 100 days, for instance, for 3 months, for 4 months. Tell them the purpose of you coming here is to teach the people of this city something about Islam. And not to preach, but to teach them, so that you will graduate some scholars among them that will stay behind and be teaching them. Do you know that this is the wisdom behind creating Islamic University in Medina? when it was created in 1963, the first degree was 80% will be from outside and 20% will be from Saudi Arabia. Why? Because we want to have somebody like Sheikh Jafar who will go to Maiduguri and say, Kitabu Tawheed wa qawlillahi ta'ala. Then people will say, Allahu Akbar. Say, this is what is called Wahhabiyya. People are criticizing Saudi Arabia for Wahhabiyya. Once he is trained for 4 years, ask anyone who was trained in Saudi Arabia for 4 years, either it is Mufti Menk, Sheikh Jafar, Dr. Sani Rijiyal Lemu, Dr. Bashir Al-Furqan, or anyone, he is not paid to continue preaching. He was just taught to understand the importance of teaching and spreading Islam, and will be left on his own. And he will go into each nook and cranny, in order to spread the message. You can do the same thing. Just sponsor 3 people to any village, any remote village that they are lacking Islamic knowledge. I say, I'm going to employ you. I want you to stay here for 3 months, for 100 days. Just teach them certain books. It shouldn't be your idea. Go to a scholar and he will make the plan. And just fund the plan. Wallahi, it will be sadaqatul jariyah for you forever. These 100 people, you will find maybe 10, 20 among them that will carry on and keep on teaching, and they will teach another set, and another set will graduate another set, and will be written for you. We need that. Otherwise, the neglected people in these areas might turn to be dangerous to us, and we have started seeing that. A person will come to masjid in the name of Islam, his name is Bello or anything that will signify he has a Muslim name, but he can kill anyone, he can rape women in the masjid. Because he was not told the significance, the importance of masajid. He was not told Surah Tawbah, إِنَّمَا يَأْمُرُ مَسَاجِدَ اللَّهِ مَنْ آمَنَ بِاللَّهِ. He was not taught that. I hope we will find a think tank group among us that will think on how to come about solving these problems of us. As I started with thanking the organizers of this program, I will also end with thanking them and appreciating their effort. This is definitely a uniting event that will bring people from different areas, people from different parts of the world to come and unite, to teach us something and to learn something from us. All of them confess that whenever they come to Nigeria, they do learn many new things from Nigerians. There will be a panel of discussion where people will say their opinion, people will make comments, and they learn from this and they go around to spread it. May Allah reward you for organizing this, and may Allah reward you for listening. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Atakbir. Wallahi, we can't do better than that. Atakbir. That was indeed inspiring. We want to say Jazakumullah khairan to Dr. Jabir Mayula. Wallahi, it was really thought-provoking. And I feel, inshallah, we're going to take something out of it, inshallah. I can see Sheikh Al-Fatah Yemi nodding along. And inshallah, it's our responsibility. We have to do this. Jazakumullah khairan once again. Barakallahu fi.